Diane.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, sorry. And with that, why don't we get started? I'd like to welcome everybody to this public meeting. And as a preliminary announcement, I would say that the meeting has been duly advertised as a public meeting in accordance with the Sunshine Act and is therefore open to members of the public as observers. Actual participation in the meeting is limited to trustees and to those people that the trustees have invited in advance to take part. With that, I do note that we have Glenn Sterner from Penn State. He has been before us before. I did ask him to attend in case any of the trustees have questions concerning the work that Penn State is doing for us. Lisa Schaefer, who is the executive director of the County Commissioners Association, which of course is acting and does act as our administrator and has since I believe March of this year, if I'm not mistaken, Lisa. And on the phone are also representatives of the Attorney General's office who are going to make presentations. I would say that this meeting is following an executive session that the board had beforehand. It was not attended by any of the people that I just introduced, and it was attended by trustees and council, and it was conducted for the purpose of discussing the Ethics Act, which of course this committee is, or the trustees is subject to, and also to the various matters, legal cases and legal matters that that we wanted to have counsel be able to describe in a privileged setting. With that, why don't we get started with this meeting? I would note that by my count, before we take roll, we have about 40 people participating that are not trustees or members of the Attorney General staff, and we have one person in person at this public meeting. So I think last time we met, we had 2 members of the public here in person, so we have about 50% of what that attendance was at the previous meeting. So we will continue to advertise our meetings and have the public meetings, and of course the next meetings will be coming up in March, May, and June. Although I did hear during the executive session a comment made about perhaps we ought to meet more frequently, and so we may change that meeting schedule for the upcoming 6 months. That, Elaine, would you please take roll?
I will. When I say your name, will you please unmute and let us know that you're here if you're attending on Zoom. Tom Van Kirk.
Yep.
Commissioner Kevin Boozle.
Here.
Aaron Dalton.
Here.
Secretary Davis Jones. I believe is not joining us today. Commissioner Jean DeGrolamo.
He's there.
He's there. I think you're here, Jean. Representative Jim Gregory.
Here.
Steve Jasper.
I'm here.
Perfect. Shane Madden.
Here.
Commissioner Robert Postal.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Greg Rothman.
Here.
Thank you. Representative Mark Rossi. Representative Rossi here. Senator Christine Tartaglione.
Here.
And Dr. Jean Wright. I believe we have 10.
We do have
trustees
a so
present.
we do have a quorum. Quorum would be 7. And I would note for the record that we were informed previously that Jean Wright and also Secretary Davis Jones were going to be traveling, and we're not going to be able to attend. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the September 7th, 2023 public meeting. Could any corrections to those minutes? They were included in your meeting packet.
I just want to let you know I'm on board here, Gene DiGirolamo, so I'm present.
Thank you, Gene. We saw your picture, but you were on mute, so we did have you noted as being, as attending. Okay, any discussion of the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Minutes pass. Tyler, I see you are on the phone. I'm assuming Neil, Mara is on the phone, and perhaps Jim Donahue, but would you please provide us with a update on the settlements? They were discussed in detail, and you were here in person at the September 7th meeting, but I do know you have some updates, and I think the trustees would be interested in hearing where we are and when you think that money might be coming in from the Wave 2 settlements.
Yeah, both me and Neil are in attendance. Jim was unable to attend today, but just a brief update on the status of the Wave 2 settlements. We're in the process of finalizing the filings for these settlements. We're working with the defendants on trying to make sure these settlement packages are ready to go before Commonwealth Court for approval. We're kind of on par with our sister states in this process, and we expect to file imminently. Kind of as soon as we get these packages all ready to go, we're gonna have them filed. In terms of timeline after they are filed, we're gonna wait for the court's approval. Once the court approves these consent decrees, we'll be able to have the money distributed from the National Trust to the PA's trust. We expect that will likely be early 2024 to maybe mid 2024, maybe early spring. The reason for that is that these settlements are rather large in terms of just paper volume, and it may take the court some time to get through them all before they're approved. Just a brief reminder on the amounts of these settlements. With current participation, it's gonna be about $567 million over the course of 15 years. These settlements are front-loaded due to Walmart's deal. So you can expect about $156 million in year one, so that's gonna be 2024. If there's any questions about this process or any of the amounts, please let me know.
Tyler, I have one. Do you believe that what you're gonna be filing with the court is gonna call for distribution of these monies within the same kind of a time frame that the previous ways were, meaning that the counties, the litigating subdivisions would be expected to receive the money December 15th of, start receiving the money December 15th of 2024, assuming you get court approval next year?
Correct, yes. We would anticipate this would be rolled into the disbursement for 2024.
And I would say one thing about that. Walmart is gonna be a substantial sum of money in 1 year. It is because they're paying the entire amount in 1 year. So that we would expect that in addition to everything else we get from J&J, from the distributors, that we'll get from the other settling defendants, that there might be as much Pennsylvania's share of the Walmart settlement would be about $96 million. And we've had several discussions, several county commissioners, and you might be aware of the fact that Kevin Boozle, myself, Rob Postal, as well as Penn State appeared before the County Commissioners Association. And there has been voiced concern about are the counties gonna be able to accommodate such a large payout in 1 year? Meaning if they're expected to spend that within 18 months, but then again, never see it again, is that really asking too much? So one thing that I want you all to know is that we are considering, and don't have a formal motion for this meeting, but when we know the settlements are closed, it is going to be our intention to ask for a longer period of time than 18 months for the Walmart money to be spent. It will, at the same time, I do believe that the money ought to be paid out to the counties, and given a larger amount of time to spend so that they have the money and can earn the interest. Or if there are counties that have a use for the money immediately, they will have that money to spend. It is theirs. I'm not trying to hold on to it for any purposes of us earning the money. I would rather see the counties earning the money and also have the discretion of spending it at one time. But I can tell you, we heard from at least 10 of the, ranging from, counties that are somewhat sizable, but not as large as Philadelphia and Allegheny County, who definitely wanted to have more time to spend the money. So it would be our intention to put a motion before you all, and also to perhaps have a discussion with the AG's office in building it into the consent decrees that they're gonna have, or into the court orders that they're going to have signed by the Commonwealth Court, to make sure we have that flexibility on the Walmart money. Happy to have a discussion about that if anybody has any questions, but it just seems prudent to us to allow more time for when getting a particularly large sum in 1 year. Any questions? Any particular disagreement with the idea of giving the counties more money on particularly the Walmart money?
I don't on that issue, but I wanted to take advantage of having the Attorney General's office. I would just like a reminder, a refresher where we are with Purdue Sackler.
Okay? Did you hear that, Tyler? Neil?
Yeah, and so, I'll give an answer first, and then Neil can chime in if I miss anything. But currently, the Purdue Pharmacy bankruptcy is on appeal to the Supreme Court. That issue is focused on whether or not the Sacklers can obtain a third-party release through Purdue's bankruptcy, even though the Sacklers themselves are not individually in that bankruptcy proceeding. Once that issue is decided, it's going to go back down to the bankruptcy court to try to rework out a new settlement deal. So we don't anticipate any payout from the Purdue Pharmacy bankruptcy in probably the next year or two, probably more likely 2 years. Neil, would you like to?
Yeah, this is Neil Mara from the AG's office. That's correct. I believe it's scheduled for argument very soon before the United States Supreme Court. So that process will work itself out on the Supreme Court's timeline. I've heard some discussion of possible a decision by June. Again, the issue is just as Tyler said, is a non-bankrupt entity entitled to, does the bankruptcy code accommodate a release from civil liability for a non-bankrupt entity as part of a bankruptcy proceeding? That's the issue the Supreme Court will be taking up. And then, as Tyler said, then we'll just be on the Supreme Court's timeline. And depending upon which way that decision goes, we could be knocked back somewhat in the settlement and be confronted with negotiating some type of new negotiation and reaching some different deal, or we are able to proceed with the existing bankruptcy agreement if the court allows for these third-party civil releases. So that's where we are there. So as Tyler said, from just a fundamental perspective, right, any proceeds from the Purdue bankruptcy settlement, it would not be anything that would be coming in imminently. It would take, I'm speculating, it would take at least a year and likely more than that.
Thank you.
Jim, I think it may be a little bit more complex than that. If the Supreme Court rules, as I think many people think they will, that the Sacklers cannot settle their way out of this, they will not be considered to be a bankrupt entity. and likely lawsuits will have to be brought against them, as well as Purdue. There will be a whole separate set of discovery, a whole lot of other class action lawyers that will be involved, and I think we could be 3 to 4 years away. At the same time, although we would be delayed in getting money from them, I think there's a fair number of people, Gene, you can comment on this if you would like, who would like to see the Sacklers have to pay their pound of flesh, since there's a lot of thinking that they probably bear the bulk of the responsibility over and above everybody who has already settled. So happy to have answer any comments on that, but my own personal belief is if the Supreme Court rules the way many think they will, we can be 4 or 5 years away from seeing any money. The advantage is it will probably mean that the Sacklers ended up having to pay.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Gene, just, you know, I agree, they should, that family and other people in that Purdue farm should bear a lot of the responsibility for this opiate epidemic. You know, the money's important, because we can certainly use the money, but, not that we can do anything about it, I don't think, but, you know, I just wanna put my marker down that I hope with the settlement with Purdue, that there is no criminal immunity granted to that family. Because, too many people have died because of their actions, and, I know they have been seeking criminal immunity. I know up in Massachusetts, they were trying to get that as part of the settlement. So, I just hope that they are not given criminal immunity as any part of their settlement, no matter how long it takes. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene.
Mr. Chair, if I may go back to the original question about the payments and the question you had about the full amount going to the counties, and total agreement of that. I think the one concern that I'm just putting on the table, and it may be addressed with Penn State, but if we blend payments together into simple checks, there has to be a very clear identification of how much money per payment, which wave, and what the reporting requirement dates are on each of those funds, because it's going to get very confusing over an 18-year period of receiving funds. So we need to make sure that we identify that for the county so that they can report properly on each of those funds.
Yes, and I would like to seek input from the trustees that are also county representatives, as well as any other trustees. When we get to that point, I think we ought to have a full discussion of exactly how the money will be distributed. Don't have any problem at all with being second, and it's also going to require some separate reporting lines on the Penn State questionnaire that will be going out. So I agree. Other questions either about from the Attorney General or regarding any of the payouts? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to the next, which is to seek to add an accounting firm. I would first like to have Jason, you comment on why we believe accounting services are necessary for the trust, and why particularly right now, and why it is an agenda item for today particularly.
So obviously the trust has certain obligations under the order establishing the trust, and CCAP has been engaged to perform certain administrative functions, but as the process has evolved, it's become clear that a best practices approach from an accounting standpoint is also imperative to help the trust meet those obligations under the order. And so a process was developed in consultation with CCAP and its counsel to identify some criteria by which an accounting firm might be identified. And we were asked to do that and to identify 3 to 5 firms, preferably Pennsylvania-based, with statewide coverage if possible. And certainly adequate staffing in the Harrisburg area, in part due to proximity to CCAP, and to control or mitigate expenses as much as possible to focus on Pennsylvania-based firms, not, you know, other larger accounting firms that might be more expensive and that wouldn't have the same connection to Pennsylvania in particular. And obviously, we sought to find accounting firms that would be familiar with the kinds of services that the trust was seeking to engage. 4 accounting firms were identified. 2 of them have had statewide presence, although it turns out that criterion was, you know, there weren't as many options for that criterion as we thought going in. 1 with almost the whole state covered, and the 4th less so, but all very well-respected, well-known accounting firms. A brief summary of the background and the scope of services was developed and shared with each of them. And that also had the benefit of input from CCAP and its counsel. And that really allowed the 4 accounting firms to sort of start from a common baseline of information. And they were also directed toward other resources like the trust website and the order establishing the trust, which allowed them to do their own research and, if they could, distinguish themselves based on preparedness for interviews that then followed. Hour-long interviews with each of the 4 accounting firms were then held, including Tom Van Kirk, myself, and representatives of CCAP. Each firm was asked to provide a schedule of rates for the professionals who would perform services. And while the rates were not identical, they were so close that from the standpoint of anticipated cost, they probably would be pretty much indistinguishable going forward. The rates were that comparable. Those who participated in those interviews with the 4 accounting firms compared notes and arrived at a consensus. And it, you know, it was a close call, but as a result of that, it was pretty uniformly seen that Mar Dussel was probably the best fit. In addition to the criteria that I described previously, Mar Dussel also had some specific experience with a Maryland public trust that seemed relevant, and that work was staffed by folks in their Harrisburg office who would be working with CCAP and this trust going forward. And finally, Mar Dussel also demonstrated a keen understanding of and collaborative approach to what CCAP and the trust were looking for that really set them apart.
Thank you, Jason. Now, at an informational meeting a couple weeks ago, the executive session did propose this to the trustees, went through the process. Many of you were not able to attend, which is why it's on the agenda today. We also said at that time we were not going to take a vote. But I did point out the importance of getting somebody on board before these December 15th payments have to be made. CCAP is just not comfortable with its role in making sure all the calculations are correct. It's a lot of money that's going to be going out, more than $70 million that is going to be going out. And I don't think it's anything we want to do without having all of the accounting assurance that is in place. I also think it's important to have an accounting firm to review the other numbers that were, while we can still make any corrections. And you saw that we are going to have a substantial amount of Wave 2 money that will be coming out, as well as Kevin with suggestions that we would seek as to how to make sure we segregate it out and do it somewhat, segregate out the money that may have a longer period of time to be spent, okay? So a lot of good reasons for having an accounting firm. You know, retrospect, do my mea culpa, perhaps they should have had more of a committee that would have met with these people. Frankly, I felt confident that council, along with CCAP, along with myself, could screen these candidates and come up with a proposal so that we could get the right firm involved. We did want to make sure it was a Pennsylvania firm primarily. I didn't want to go to a Big 5 firm because I do think this is Pennsylvania money. We are trying to support Pennsylvania vendors as we have in the past with our selection of Penn State, Pitt and Temple. I also thought it was very important to have somebody that had a Harrisburg office, if at all possible, because I know the amount of hands-on that professionals have to have with the administrator particularly in order to be able to make sure that both are able to do their job. So it is suggested that we do hire Manduso at least for a year. If it doesn't work out, we can change and go with another firm, but I think it's very important that we get somebody on place today, so that we can make sure that we go forward with the December 15th payment. So with that, I would accept a motion for the engagement of Mayor Dussel to provide accounting services for the trust. And information has been supplied about their background and what their proposal is.
This is Steve. I make the motion for Mayor Dussel. They absolutely understand the human service need in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, open for discussion on the motion.
You mentioned, this is Rob Bustle, Commissioner, you mentioned, Tom, that we could review this and perhaps we don't need to put it in the motion or in the agreement. I didn't see in the agreement that it is for any specific time or term. So I think perhaps annually when we review other things, it would be appropriate to review the performance. I just didn't see a term in the agreement. Maybe I missed.
I agree. I think that we ought to enter into all of our agreements on a one-year term, and they should be reviewed before being renewed. And that would do with all the professional firms, also with, I believe, the one exception to that is the Penn State agreement, which of course is going to be a 3-year agreement, which was proposed because it was going to be necessary for them to have that length of time to put everything into place, then do all the tweaking that was going to be necessary. So theirs is a 3-year term, but we can make all the other ones 1-year terms. Jim?
Is it my understanding that the cost?
Yeah, thank you, that's okay.
My understanding is that the cost that we will incur by doing this actually falls below the amount of interest that we earn. That we're capable of paying this out of interest earned.
The cost that we will be paying for all of our, quote, administrative expenses, which will include Penn State, CCAP, Buchanan Ingersoll, and this will far below the amount of interest that we earned on the money, yes.
And this may not be the appropriate time to make this comment. I wish I could have gone back, and I appreciate the via culpa, that we could have anticipated from CCAP that this was going to be something that we were going to have to engage in. And if it's possible, moving forward, that we could be better at anticipating what some of these costs might be. That's asking a lot, but that would be my comment. Thank you.
Okay. Well, and of course, the bulk of the cost that we will incur for them this year, or over the next year, will be a 2024 expense, not a 2023 expense. Although they'll be deeply involved with the process in December, it will not be any outrageous amount, okay?
To the gentleman's comment about the anticipating, one of the things I didn't read in this is, and I don't know if it's an offered service or not, I have 2 questions. One is, if we get these reports back and if there are concerns about spending from a particular entity, would they engage in a separate agreement to look at if the trust would so choose to have that reviewed?
They are actually willing to do as part of the overall engagement here. If we think we require specific accounting and for them to go out to various counties and check that the expenditures were actually made, to test run that on several different counties so that the counties know that they are going to be audited, or an accounting firm is gonna be looking at it. Yes, they are willing to have that as the scope of their services.
Thank you, Tom. My next question is, and I know this is gonna be very difficult to answer. I see this, the billing rates, the schedule of rates, for 2023. My question is there an estimate? Can we envision how much they're going to spend for the service that's been requested thus far? And while I'm not asking for a not to exceed rate, I am sort of asking for a not to exceed rate. And so it's not in the contract, and I was wondering if they had to have that discussion.
We did not have that discussion, but I'm more than happy to have it, and I also don't believe it will be hard to have them build in a not to exceed.
Thank you.
Not overall cost, overall hourly rate, right?
I'm looking at overall cost depending on the amounts of money that they're, managing, so that they can see how much money we're distributing and handling and what we're asking to do. There should be some kind of they give us an estimate for our counties when they do audits, prior to entering into the agreement. And I know, I didn't see it, I see the schedule, I did not see that.
We did not ask for not to exceed because frankly, the scope of services right now are not such that we can really say, I couldn't expect any accounting firm or any professional firm to say how much time it is gonna take to do that which we may request.
I understand, that's why we'll have the annual agreement.
Yes.
Thank you. I think there was a question.
You mentioned Penn State, that also includes Temple and Pitt, correct?
Yes, Senator, it does. I thought I had mentioned Penn State, Pitt, and Temple, but that might have been in an earlier comment, but yes, it's all three.
Thank you.
And they have been actively, I can tell you from several meetings I've had with them, Pitt and Temple have been actively involved with, certainly each of the meetings I have attended with Penn State, and I know they've been very active in the development of the reporting tool.
Thank you.
And a big help, by the way.
If I could ask a question, my name is Sue Douglas, I'm from, Lebanon County, Drug and Alcohol Commission.
I'm sorry, questions are limited to trustees. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If you do have a question you would like to ask or have answered, please submit it to the website and we'll attempt to answer it as quickly as possible after this meeting. Other questions, discussion? Okay, could I call for a vote on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the nay.
Senator Rothman, nay.
Okay, thank you. Any abstention? Okay, motion passes and we will engage Mayor Dussel to do the accounting, and I believe that they will be prepared to get started as early as tomorrow or the first part of next week, so we can make sure we have no delays in the December 15th payment. In order for them to perform these services, they have to have access to the Wilmington Trust account and also to the M&T Bank account. So we did have a resolution approving approval of the resolution for Mayor Dussel to access the Wilmington Trust account and also the M&T account. They're two separate resolutions, but I can take them as one. Could I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you,
So
Shay.
moved.
Second? Take that as a second, Gene.
Okay, that's fine.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Now, we also have an approval. We've talked a lot about these disbursements to the counties and the litigating subdivisions. They were set forth in the information that was sent out. We need to have a formal trust approval, to make the payments in accordance with that, schedule. Is that still on the agenda thing? Yep. Could I have a motion that, for a, resolution that we make the payments of the 2023 estimated disbursements to the counties and litigating subdivisions, on or before December 15th?
So moved,
So
Kevin.
moved.
Second,
Okay, and this, of course, was based on the spreadsheet calculations prepared by the, Office of Attorney General, which you might know was also done in, September 15th. But I will also say, if these numbers change after review by the accounting firm, I would like to have the flexibility of making those changes, but we clearly would get back to each of you saying that there are gonna be changes to the schedule if the accounting firm says there's necessary changes.
Do you need an amendment to that motion to include that, or are you good?
Why don't we call for the resolution with that amendment in, okay?
Just one question, because on the spreadsheet,
Microphone.
it had correction. Thank you. As I was reviewing the spreadsheet, it has payment 3 breakdown, but then it has payment 3 corrections. And can someone explain what the corrections were and, which one we're paying out, because I wanna make sure that we have the correct
Tyler.
number. Tyler?
Tyler?
So, by payment 3 corrections, are you referring to, the corrections from the way to litigating subdivision accounts, or are you referring to the updated spreadsheet from September 15th to the more recent one? I just wanna clarify which corrections.
There's actually a tab that says corrections, payment 3 corrections. I don't know what the date of this form.
Jason, can you update that on the microphone?
November 17th.
Tyler, if you didn't hear that, the sheet that he's looking at, and which was circulated, does have the payment 3 corrections, if you could address what those corrections were.
The date of this Excel spreadsheet is November 17th, 23. At the bottom it says payment 3 breakdown and then payment 3 corrections.
Yeah, so my email is down at the moment, so I can't view, the spreadsheet you're looking at. Can you just verbally describe what it is, and then I'll be able to know it?
So in the payment 3 corrections, there's small amounts. So Adams County is 0, Aliquippa is 781, Allegheny
Yes.
6,273.
Okay, yep, so the payment 3 corrections is due to a payment error that went out for payment 2. That error was attributed to how the litigating subdivision account was broken down. So the litigating subdivision account is 15% of the money, but it comes from 2 sources. It comes from the distributor money and the J&J money, and then it's distributed to the entities that have litigation against those defendants. However, not every political subdivision was litigating against both entities. For payment 2, that ratio of the breakdown was slightly off, so it led to an overpayment of some of the subdivisions and an underpayment to others, and so the payment 3 correction is correcting that error in payment 2. So it was only limited to those subdivisions, and it was a small amount, and so once it was caught, we instituted that correction.
Thank you, and I think we just realized why we have an auditor now. Thank you.
It is, and it's gonna be even more important with wave 2, because there's a lot of the litigating subdivisions that might have been involved with J&J and the distributors that weren't involved with some of the pharmacies or the other companies. So there's gonna be a lot of distinctions there. There were also, I can tell you the other thing is to show the magnitude of Tyler's job and why CCAP and why an accounting firm really is necessary to do it. When we got to some of these, it was pointed out that we didn't have a full list of everybody that may have sued some of the companies, okay? That was raised at the last minute, because there's no ready place of looking and saying who settled, so, that's another reason for it. I would also note, by the way, I'm very happy to say that, of course, a precondition to paying this money, which is gonna be authorized by this resolution, was to receive a certification from all of the counties and anybody who's gonna receive a payment that they're gonna use it for Exhibit E purposes, and to get information about to whom the money is supposed to be paid within their, that they're entitled to. We did receive certifications from each and every county and litigating subdivisions. So, that is not something that you might think that would be a no-brainer, but, we were holding our breath up until the last minute that we were gonna get that. I will also say that last year, there were some monies withheld, from counties because some of their municipalities, and/or townships, might not have signed the proper papers agreeing not to sue any of these settling defendants. This year, there'll be no such penalties because every county got all of the municipalities that they were required to get settlements from. They got the proper signed documents. So that was also very important, and a lot of what CCAP has been doing. And Elaine, I know we keep saying Elaine and Heather and Lisa, that we need the accounting firm to help. I want you to know, there's plenty of work that that CCAP has been doing, to get all of this in a position to be paid out, without getting into doing the specific accounting functions, Kevin. Okay, with that we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second. Any discussion? Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Okay, the next on the agenda is the approval of an accelerated payment to the Commonwealth. As it developed, when the order was first signed, the Commonwealth Court order, which of course we can change to the extent it requires extensions of time or early payments or anything like that. It was set up that most counties are on a calendar year basis, and that was why we decided to pay the money by December 15th, or why that is in the order. Commonwealth is on a June 30th fiscal year, so it was put into the order that they would be paid by June the 15th. As it turns out, this year particularly, in the 2023-2024 General Appropriations Act, that it did already appropriate $13,575 to DDAP to support vital programs, all done in connection with for Exhibit E purposes. It is expected that the Commonwealth share of the money that is going to be paid out to the counties December 15th approximates $13 million figure. It's actually $33.5 million from Johnson & Johnson, slightly over $1 million from Allencott, and $5 million from the distributors. So I guess that's a total of about $10 million. That would be money that we would have paid to the Commonwealth on June the 15th. They have asked, because it has been appropriated to DDAP, because there's a need to pay out the money now at the same time we pay the counties. This was a one-time request. If they would request early payment in any future years, it would have to be done again. This is not a general change, but one that they would like for us to consider. Myself, I personally recommend it. I think that we are better off having this money out and being spent, have it spent by DDAP, and let's get it out and spent to the extent we can in helping us deal with this crisis, rather than us merely holding this approximate $10 million and earning interest on it. The cost to us, obviously, because you can do the calculations, we're earning about 5% interest now. 5% interest on $10 million would be for a 6-month period of time is about $250,000. I personally believe that we have other money invested. This is not needed. That interest money, Jim, is not needed to pay any kind of interest expense, and therefore, my own personal view is that we are better off paying it out to the Commonwealth now on an expedited basis and let them start putting the money to good use. So are there any questions as to why we're seeking this? Or maybe I ought to ask for a motion first. Could I have a motion to approve paying the Commonwealth share of this year's payment on December 15th rather than awaiting June 15th of 2024?
I make the motion.
Okay, I'll take yours as a second. So, motion, seconded. Any discussion of the motion?
So, I know, I need a mic. I talk too much, I should just get my own mic, sorry. Just curious, because I don't know that they're subject to the reporting requirements that we are as counties. And so, I'm curious as to what's been obligated. I would like to know that as a trust, and we're expediting this. I think we deserve to know what is being done with that money and where it's going. A lot of that programming may come back into counties anyway, I don't know that, but I'd like to know that going forward. You know, if this happens, and it has happened to counties that the state has not been able to fiduciarily carry out because they didn't have a budget or so on, we've been forced to take out RANs, revenue anticipation notes. Just making it clear that this is something I do want to do. I think it needs to be done, and I would rather see this money get out on the streets and help people. That's our primary resource, and they need to do that. But I just want to have that backwards conversation about what it is that we can expect as a trust for doing this.
Okay, you are right that as of right now, litigating subdivisions and counties and the state, it was not built into the court order that they have to do the same reporting that the counties are going to report on and comply with the questionnaire that Penn State is going to be sending out to the counties. That is something that in the next order, when they ask for the Wave 2 settlements and get that approval, they are making an amendment to that so that they are going to be required to do it. However, I hear what you say, and I am willing to have the resolution be that, subject to the Commonwealth agreeing to report on how the money was spent so we know it's in compliance with Exhibit E. I'm happy to do that, and I'm sure the Commonwealth will comply.
Thank you.
So with that, we have a motion and a second, but I will take as Kevin's suggestion and modify the resolution to be that we will pay the dollars out, but subject to their agreement to do a full reporting as to how they complied with Exhibit E. Any other questions? Very good suggestion, by the way. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? And anybody abstain? Okay, it passes. We also had in the packet the timeline for reporting. Elaine, do you want to take us through that, or?
So we have in our packets, the proposed timeline, which is that that we did a reporting tool test run in October of 2023. We received positive feedback from several counties that participated in the test run of the reporting tool. In the third week of November, we sent out those instructions and a PDF copy of the report to all counties and litigating subdivisions. That's information that is also posted on the trust website. At the CCAP conference a couple weeks ago, we had 2 sessions, which included a preview of the reporting tool, and another one that was a Q&A with the trust, and those were both well received. The reporting session had very good feedback. Our plan now is to send those individual reports out to counties and litigating subdivisions in mid-December, so that would be after the December 15th payments go out. We do have 3 webinars scheduled that counties and litigating subdivisions have received information about. Those will happen in December and in January. And as part of the proposed timeline, we would ask for draft submissions of the reports to be submitted by February 15th of 2024, and then the final reports would be submitted by March 15th, 2024, consistent with the trust order. The reporting period for the second year then would follow that same schedule, with mid-December the reporting links being sent to contacts, and February 15th for the draft submission for reports, and March 15th for the final submission.
Thanks, Elaine. One thing I would say is, first of all, the reporting tool was, as I said, very well received by the counties, both those that participated in the trial runs, but also when Penn State and Pitt and Temple made their presentation to the County Commissioners Association. It was very well received by all of the counties. So congratulations to you all. They're doing a very, very good job. They did not think it was overly onerous and did not think that they would have trouble complying. A couple things I would mention. One county did raise the issue when told that it's our intention to make a very public reporting of what the counties respond, how they spent the money. We intend, if not posting it on our website, we will be posting it on a separate document so that the public will know how each of these counties spent the money. Now, they have 18 months to spend it, and to the extent that they got money in December of last year, they may not have yet spent the money. They may not have committed to spend the money, but they may have plans to spend the money, all of which we want disclosed on the questionnaire, but they have some concern if they just have plans but haven't finally contracted for it. They would prefer that that not be put as a matter of public document until they actually sign the contract. I think that's a point very well taken, and I have asked Penn State to make that adjustment so that to the extent anybody is concerned that the public reporting that we're going to do of the information we received that was discussed by Elaine, it will not include monies that are to be spent but haven't yet been committed to be spent. The other thing I would say is Penn State urges us, and I think gets some support from a legislative bill that is currently pending, to perhaps make this reporting every 6 months instead of every year. There could be good reason for that. I have told Penn State that I think that is something that we as trustees can and would consider. I think we should consider it. I also think that we should do it, though, with a backdrop of just how onerous this reporting requirement was for the March 15th reporting, and we'll have a better base of work. But I didn't want you to get caught by surprise if I come back to you in April and say, you know, this works so well, we want to do it every 6 months, just so we can keep everything as active as possible and keep everybody as current as possible, including the public, on just how this money is being spent. So, but that is not part of this, motion. So, I would like to have an approval of the proposed timeline as just reviewed by Elaine. Can I have a motion to that effect?
I'll move the motion. This is Commissioner Postle.
Thank you, Rob.
Second.
Second by Shay Madden. Okay, discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Okay, next is a proposal we have received from an insurance company. I would ask Jason to, from a broker who ascertained and sought proposals for us to have insurance both for the trust and for our administrator, in this case CCAP, but presumably for anybody else that is the administrator going forward. So Jason, would you review the reasons that we sought the proposal?
In addition to providing insurance coverage for the trust and the board, the trust also has a contractual obligation to CCAP to have insurance in place and for CCAP to be named as an additional insured. With that in mind, a broker was contacted who shopped the coverage. I don't know if you want me to go into those details, Tom, or do you want to go into it?
I'll go into it.
Okay. And that proposal is set forth in the materials, and I guess, Tom, you'll review that.
Right, I'm just gonna give an overview of what it is. Henderson Brothers is the broker that I asked to seek insurance. A lot of questions asked about exactly what were they insuring. We said it is to insure CCAP for their administrative, any errors that might be made with them acting as our administrator. Also to take into account that they were developing the website, that there was gonna be a lot of proprietary information that was gonna be involved, and just generally how an entity like ours, which is an unusual entity, let's face it, but how an entity like ours, what kind of insurance, what we're really being insured for. As I said, it's gonna be in the nature of D&O, but also really for any errors that might get made by us or our agents in making payments, etc., that might result in financial consequences for us. And it was just that vague in going out to the broker. The broker talked to us several different occasions, honed in on what we really wanted, and Henderson Brothers, as I said, which is in Pittsburgh, represents the Allegheny County, is the broker for them and a lot of not-for-profits in the Western Pennsylvania area. They sought they shopped this. They ended up shopping it to a total of 9 insurance companies. 5 declined to even respond, and 3 offered terms that were less advantageous than the ones that I'm going to be presenting to you today. The insurance that they proposed and went out for was a $5 million offering for the trustee E&O coverage, as well as an excess $5 million policy offering, which would be a total of $10 million in overall coverage. That would be a total cost of $123,000. However, it's divided into 2 parts. There's a primary $5 million coverage, which was proposed for Fair American, which is an AM Best AAA rated company, and that is a total cost of about $77,000, and the excess would be with Bridgeway Insurance, which is an AM Best A+, total cost of $46,000. To be clear, it's my recommendation that we do not need at this time the excess coverage. I think rather we are better off just going with the initial coverage, yes, a primary cost basis, but also I do think that a $5 million insurance is enough to cover us for whatever omissions we as trustees or we as a trust might be making, particularly considering that we have the ability over a 9-year period to make corrections to anybody that might have been aggrieved and to make up for any problems that there might have been. It is possible to proceed with just the primary offering, and that is my recommendation. As I said, it was offered to 9 insurance companies, with 5 people just saying they wanted nothing to do with it. Probably because it's less than fully understandable what kind of entity we really are when push comes to shove. The deductible and retention per claim would be $100,000, and also this is going to be would cover all claims, so that it is cumulative and not individual on an individual claim basis for the 500,000 or for the $5 million. Excuse me. They also did offer retroactive because the trust was formed on July 15th of 2022. They did offer to make it retroactive back until that time. I think it's important, since we did make $130 million worth of payments in 2022. CCAP is specifically identified as a named insured in its capacity as administrator of the trust, and that, of course, as Jason just said, is a requirement in the CCAP agreement. And there is technology errors and omissions coverage included that will pick up any exposure related to website development and to the proprietary information that I discussed. So that is what the proposal is. It was all in the materials that were sent out.
No, there could be a long line.
Excuse me, we are getting some feedback. If everybody might want to make sure they're muted unless they have a question. So with that, I would accept a motion to approve the proposal by Henderson Brothers for the $5 million in basic coverage for a cost of $76,782, and ask if there could be a motion to that effect so we can have a discussion.
I made the motion.
Thank you, Senator. Second?
Second?
Thanks, Chief. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion.
So Tom, this is Rob Postal, and maybe Jason answers this, but you said a couple of times, the other respondents were less advantageous. Are you saying that they cost more, or the terms were, not as great, or it didn't cover retroactively? What do you mean by that?
It was essentially less coverage for well, in the case of most of them, they were just much more expensive. Have an example, one that did submit coverage was $150,000 for $3 million in coverage. Another one was $103,000 for $3 million in coverage. Companies that declined, among those that declined to even submit a bid was Hartford. So the two of the ones that did submit were for more money with less coverage, and one of them was for approximately the same amount of money, but the terms were not viewed to be as advantageous.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Tom, this is Steve. Do they not understand our mission and vision and their risk? And can those terms be negotiated down?
Could they be? We could go back to the ones that, that proposed it. Frankly, having dealt with a lot of insurance companies on a lot of different coverages, I think that they will view us to have a very worthy, mission, and I don't think it'll make a damn bit of difference in what the terms are that are offered.
But we would be reviewing annually.
And we will be reviewing this annually, yes.
This is Ron, I'm sorry, Tom, that information you just gave me is in the proposal here from you, I think it's, on page 5 for other trustees, if you wanna see that. You do mention who declined and the terms and conditions for the other one, so thank you, I apologize for.
No problem. Other discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second.
Greg has his hands up.
I'm sorry,
Senator
Greg.
Hoffman.
Excuse me.
Senator Rothman,
Yes, Senator Rothman, I didn't see your hand up.
I'm sorry, yes, I'd like to make a motion to table.
Okay. That is not a motion that is for discussion. There is a motion to table. Is there a second to that motion?
I second Senator Rothman's motion to table for further information.
Okay, and that was Steve Jasper.
Yep.
Okay. As I said, that is not one that can be discussed. All in favor of a motion to table as opposed to being assured now, please say aye.
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 No.
I'll call for the noes separately. I heard 4 noes, or 4, I heard 4 ayes. Are there any in the room that vote aye? Okay, opposed?
Aye.
No.
No.
Mr. Chairman, I'd request a roll call, please.
Yes?
We're gonna do a roll call
You
vote.
go down the list of names and let
Yeah,
everybody.
we're gonna have a roll call vote. I can't, hear either a majority or a non-majority.
Okay, we're gonna have a roll call vote on the motion to table the insurance coverage. Tom Van Kirk,
I, don't vote unless there's a tie.
oh, sorry. Commissioner Kevin Boozle,
No,
Repeat that.
repeat the question.
Can I just have a question real quick? And I means yes to table and no means
I mean
No.
yes to table and no means not to table. And
okay.
then we would move on to a discussion of the proposal.
Not table, no.
okay. Commissioner Kevin Boozle votes no. Aaron Dalton,
Aye.
Aaron Dalton votes yes. Commissioner Jean DeGralmo
No.
votes no. Representative Jim Gregory
Yes.
votes yes. Steve Jasper,
Yes.
Shane Madden,
No.
Commissioner Robert Postal,
No.
Senator Greg Rothman,
Yes.
and Senator Christine Tartaglione.
No.
Okay, I'm counting 5 noes and 4 yeses.
Okay, the motion is defeated. We will move on to a vote on the resolution itself to approve the proposal by Henderson Brothers that was in your material with the modification that will not include the $5 million in excess coverage. So it'll just be for the, accepting the $5 million in coverage proposed by Fair American, with a total cost of $76,782. Could I have a
There's a motion and a second.
there's already been a motion and a second to that. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Great.
Senator Roth.
Yes, I got you. Any other noes? Any abstentions?
This is Steve, I'm present, I'd like my vote as present.
Okay. Any other abstentions or want to be voted as present? Okay, the ayes have it, and therefore the motion passes. Thank you. Next, we have an approval of the CCAP Administrative Services and Website Hosting 2024 estimated cost. You might recall when we initially engaged CCAP, it was for the first year period of 2023. And they said that they would be coming back. They did suggest in that that there would be inflation adjustments. I don't believe any of us at that time believed that the inflation for the remainder of the year was going to be what it was. And I will also say that the scope of the services that we have received really far exceeded that which we anticipated when we first brought them in. It has been pointed out that we are going to incur accounting services that they now won't have to perform, but I'm not sure they ever believed they were including accounting services. It certainly wasn't called for in the statement of services. So if somebody could get the microphone to Lisa. Lisa, you're in the best position to tell us what the modifications are that you made to the scope of services and what the estimated cost will be.
Yes, thank you, and thank you everyone for the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon. We have certainly been, I think, building the plane as we've been flying it, as you've all sort of, as we've alluded to here in this room this afternoon. Originally, when we anticipated providing administrative services, we, set up a meeting, we provide the Zoom link, we take some minutes, and that would be about the extent of it. And obviously, it has evolved into much more than that, to the point where the position that supports the trust within CCAP really is becoming much more of a director level position and not just an administrative person. We have proposed updates to the scope of work accordingly. These really capture the efforts that we have been engaged in over the last several months, which include that operational and more director executive level support. You will notice we included a paragraph there on financial oversight management. While the accounting firm is on board with appropriate checks and balances in place, there will be still a place for us to be part of that process, working with the accounting firm, but not taking on quite the extent of that work that we had been previously. With that, we did, to elevate the position and the scope and the experience and talent that we need in this type of position, we believe, did update the costs that we are required to provide you with the estimate for by December 1st, which you will see here. Just so that you will know, the administrative support there, the 2023 costs were prorated, so that they were just for March, when we signed the agreement at the end of March through the end of the year. So yes, the number is higher accordingly, but please also note that number is higher because the 2023 costs were prorated and not a full year's worth of costs. The other two were operating costs were adjusted related to inflation per the existing agreement, and the costs under Exhibit B for website development, domain hosting were lowered accordingly now that the initial development is completed. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
This is Rob. I would just point out that this is more than just one position. This is, it says Lisa 1 in order.
That is correct. We did hire a full-time person to fill the administrator role. However, there are certain functions that are falling outside and are helping to provide around the edges support to that position within CCAP.
Not a question from me, but I would like to say, CCAP's services have been absolutely invaluable. They jumped right into this. They have handled most of the communications with Penn State, Pitt, and Temple, and in providing input with them, in making sure that they coordinated with the counties. They were everything I hoped they would be as far as a big aid to the counties who are getting so much of the money that we are getting, but certainly always looking out for the trust interest in it. Elaine and Heather have been absolute joys to work with. I think that Elaine's husband is ready to kill me because she talks to me more than she does to him in any given week. But truly, we are on the phone as many times as 40 times a week, just dealing with miscellaneous issues that come up, questions that are being asked as far whether or not it be from reporters, from the general public, questions that might be asked by way of the frequently asked questions. They are the ones that convene the technical advisory committee that has tried to get information out to the counties, who have asked questions about how different matters ought to be dealt with. So their services have been absolutely outstanding, and I fully anticipate they will be going forward in the future. And as I said, they are probably much greater than any of us might have envisioned. With that in mind, I will say, remember, they took over from the AG's office. I probably hadn't realized just how much input the AG had been providing during the first 5 or 6 months of the trust existence, and that we were passing on to them. So I fully endorse this and would ask if there's any other questions that people have. Hearing none, could I have a motion to enter into an agreement with CCAP for the administrative services and website hosting for 2024, in accordance with the estimated costs that are were in the packet?
I would make a motion.
So moved.
Okay, who was the?
Who's Aaron?
Aaron. Okay, I'll take Aaron's as the motion. Shay, second. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 I have to abstain, board member of CCAP.
Okay. Any nays? Any other abstentions other than Kevin?
Postal abstains.
Postal abstained. Anybody else? Okay, the ayes have it. Good, look forward to working with you next year. We have one that I've asked somebody else to present, and I'll tell you the reason for this. We had a request to the technical advisory group that meets every 2 weeks to try to provide information with regard to specific questions that any county may have as to whether or not an expense that they would like to make out of the funds they receive, whether or not it is something we will ultimately approve. And it is all subject to verification that they spent it, subject to the money being actually spent for it, in many cases, subject to the fact that it's being used for several different things, and it can only be used, trust money can only be spent in proportion to that which is spent for an Exhibit E purpose, okay? We generally reach pretty good agreement, and then we submit it to the trustees. Trustees from time to time have clarification questions. I know Senator Rothman has had several, and we've readdressed it, gotten the information back, and once the technical advisory group made its recommendation, and then it received the approval of the trust, we ended up posting it on the website for guidance for everyone. We had one within the last 3 weeks, and the Clearfield County, and they wanted a rather prompt response because they are ready to try to make the commitment for this particular use. And, we met several times on this, and the technical advisory group, we were hopelessly deadlocked on this. It was a 2-2 vote, and very amicable discussions, but we couldn't agree as to whether it is appropriate use or whether it leaned to be too much pure law enforcement as opposed to really helping address opioid concerns. So I wanted to bring it before this entire group, given their urgency in wanting to make a decision and recognizing there can be different ways of looking at this. So I did ask Steve Jasper, who submitted the question on behalf of Clearfield, if he would be willing to make the presentation as to what the request is, and we can then have a discussion and a vote on whether or not the trust believes that we ought to approve this for a use. Steve?
Thank you, Tom. And in full transparency, yeah, I am the mental health, I'm not the single county authority, I'm just the mental health administrator of Clearfield and Jefferson counties, so I do work for Clearfield County. What the Clearfield County criminal justice system has done in recent months is they've used some of these money, as Mr. Van Kirk identified, proportionally towards an in and on body scanner. That scanner cannot be used on women who are pregnant or suspected of being pregnant. It also has a low dose of radiation, and so that body scanner is not being used on guests, visitors, people like me that show up from the mental health office, who come in and try to provide mental health services in addition to my friends from the single county authority, delivery people, and quite frankly, staff. So the idea of the commissioners of Clearfield County is we want to purchase, not buy it. I mean, it's a dog. We want to purchase a narcotic sniffing dog so that for those folks that can't come through that low dose of radiation, we're still gonna check you because the Clearfield County Jail wants to make sure that when folks come in and for whatever reason, that once they're there and they either begin or they re-engage in treatment, that you have a drug-free facility. It just happens to be the county prison. And with that, Tom, I yield back to you. If you want any more information or comments from me, I'm happy to respond from this group. I'm happy to respond.
So do people have questions for Steve? Because I think it's important. I think these are all the things that we considered as a group. We did understand what it was. And I do believe, Steve, you knew that part of our response was that it would have to be proportional. If these dogs, if the drug sniffing dogs were also detecting other things, as they well might, that it could only be used for the opioid purpose. I will also say in my private conversation with Steve, I also did comment that he may want to lend the dog out to
before
the
Commissioner
local high
Bozo
school.
responds, because I see that he has a microphone. Tom, I would just say that just like the in-person, on-person body scanner, which is proportional, the dog will be proportional as well. Like it's gonna sniff out some other things. Just like the body scanner finds some other things. And it is my understanding from the Clearfield County Board of Commissioners is that this is absolutely proportional.
Thank you. I also wanted to point out, I said facetiously to Steve when I asked him if he would be kind enough to present this, that he may want to lend the dog out to the local high schools on occasion, and they may find something there too, but, in any event,
A couple
Kevin?
questions, and I think it'll facilitate a lot of the discussions we've had in the tag team. Number one is, how large is your jail, and what's the proportionate number of people that would be screened by this type of system?
So, Commissioner, I believe that the current housing capacity of the Clearfield County Jail is about 220 people, and everybody will come in contact with that dog.
Okay. Another question is, let's play a scenario. You find drugs on a person walking in, whether it be a delivery person or a family member. Is the intent to file charges on that person?
That's a tough question for me, Commissioner, because that comes into criminal justice, and that's a tough question for me, Commissioner.
That's where we're struggling, because that becomes law enforcement. And I'm gonna be honest with you, we are looking at a program in Butler, and I'm in full disclosure, looking at we call it the drug sniffing detection system, but it has to be part of our LEDI program, and the intention is when found, that they get into treatment. And so we have to meet benchmarks, and we are establishing those. That's why we haven't purchased it yet. And we're establishing those benchmarks to make sure that we are doing what these funds are meant to do, which is get people into treatment earlier than later, and not enforcement. So when I ask you if charges are going to be pressed, that becomes an enforcement issue, not usable. These funds, in my opinion, would not be eligible for use. So as much as so while you can't answer that question, I truly respect what you're saying, because I understand where you're going. I think that there has to be a very clear expectation and understanding of what that really means moving forward. Before we can say yes, no, we gotta have that answer, because that's the critical piece of what I'm looking at. And then once you look at that, then you could apply the percentage possibly and say this is how much we protected people from getting these drugs, and we could look at those questions as well. But that's just my opinion, and this is part of our discussion earlier, so I wanted to lay it out there on the table so that you could respond to it, and I appreciate your willingness to do so.
I understand that, Commissioner, and I don't disagree with you. I would love preventative measures and treatment court and all the things, but for whatever reason, we don't have that in Clearfield County. But when somebody does arrive at the county jail, and it might be their first opportunity or their second re-engagement or their fifth re-engagement in treatment, I like the idea of the dog that can sense literally everybody, so that we can provide treatment in the Clearfield County Prison. And I hope that, I know that's not the right answer, Commissioner, but I hope that even though I said I don't know, I hope that gave you a little bit more context, Commissioner.
Thank you.
To the gentleman, thank you for the presentation. I'd be interested in a couple of other points of information, having just spent an hour at the Butler County Jail earlier this week, where overcrowding is an issue. Just from the context of the situation that you're dealing with there, does this dog present any way of being a deterrent?
Yes. I'm not sure how much the Clearfield County Commissioners would allow me to use my sailor mouth, but F around and find out is what I would have an 80-year-old grandma knit for that dog, so that it is a constant deterrent to anybody that comes into the Clearfield County Prison. We're watching you, and we're going to find out. So don't bring it here, and then let people, within the criminal justice system, serve their sentences appropriately. Hopefully, get early parole, and let's let's get you engaged in treatment so that we can help you live the rest of your life. I don't know if that answered your question or not, sir.
I think I know what Sailor Mouth means. Thank you. Thank you for your candor. But what is the running, perhaps some information on what the running report is on contraband over the last couple of years and its presence, increase, decrease for that particular prison, and what precedent is it setting with either a yes or a no with other counties interested in this? And thank you very much.
May I ask how much it is?
Please go ahead.
Excuse me?
I said, please go ahead, Senator, because I couldn't answer the gentleman's last question anyways.
Okay, how much does it cost?
I've heard that a narcotic, I've done a little bit of research. It's about $60,000 for a narcotics drug sniffing dog.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, Senator.
Other questions or discussion? I will say that I do lean, and I feel very strongly that this money should not be spent on additional police. But I also believe that a drug sniffing dog can be a deterrent to somebody coming in. People know, if they were to wear this kind of sweater that Steve was referring to, if people know that there is, that if they have drugs on them and they're bringing it into prison, they're gonna be detected. I think it does have a deterrence effect. So that's what my view on the question was when it was posed.
And Mr. Chairman, this is Postal. Yeah, I think Commissioner Boozle sort of stole my thunder on this one.
Sorry.
And I really like dogs. But, I think if Steve would have, or if the county sort of puts this into more of a, let's say, remediation program, counseling program, and this is the way I look at law enforcement when we were posed with this question, that if it is part of a community program, you could hire somebody, like a dog or a new officer, that would deter or find drugs on the street and get those people then into treatment. I don't know how you would be able to get a vendor or a visitor into treatment. You could control people in the prison, obviously, because they're captives. But it just gets real close to the same thing. Put somebody on the street, stopping cars and searching people. I just think it's pretty close to law enforcement without the explanation on how this fits into the overall MAT program at the prison or counseling at the prison. And again, I'll emphasize, I really like dogs, but this is tough one for me.
Commissioner Commissioner Postal, this is Steve from Clearfield Jefferson. I would redirect you back to Exhibit E, Other Strategies, Section K, Training. I would redirect you back to Section E, Section D, and I think that what the commissioners of Clearfield County want to do does fall in line with the totality of Exhibit E, and with that, I rest.
Well, training, Steve, yes. That would be okay. Train a handler, I'm not too sure about that. But training is clearly something I think that could be handled. Purchasing the canine, I'm not too sure. Talking about training personnel and how to deal with this.
Other discussion on this matter? Shay?
Make sure the switch is on.
Aaron? Okay. Couple of questions. Would this be tied into, do you have a Letty program? You said you don't have a drug court. Is that something that might be looked at, some of the funding?
We do have a Letty program, we do not have, treatment court in the county of Clearfield.
So would there be some way to incorporate this dog with either the Letty program, or has your county had any conversations about pursuing a treatment court?
We've had many conversations about, pursuing treatment court. Our president judge is not in favor of that.
Okay. And just from, I am the SCA director from Lycoming Clinton, so I just would speak, on my opinion is that it very much is still law enforcement, and I don't, while it might deter one or two folks, what we've seen is that doesn't work. Deterrence, scare tactics, those kind of things, just in my opinion, and I think the research shows it as well, don't stop individuals, this population of folks from doing things that maybe they shouldn't do.
I don't agree with you, I don't disagree with you, Shay, I think that was you, Shay. I don't disagree with you, but sometimes the first opportunity for folks to get engaged for the first time or re-engaged in, SUD services is when they end up at the Clearfield County Jail.
Sorry.
It's a good debate.
But I guess, how does that help them engage in treatment? I'm not clear on that.
So I'm not the single county authority of Clearfield Jefferson, I'm just the mental health, administrator. Right, our single county authority is a private, nonprofit. They are wonderful.
Yes.
If that's the first time, let's keep the jail as clean as possible, so that they can get the services that both mental health and SUD are offering at the jail, and keep illicit, substances out, and then hopefully we can get them out of jail as fast as possible and back into the community, and so that they can re-engage in, community-based treatment would be my answer, Shay.
And I agree with you. I think that what you just said though would be where I would want to spend the money on treatment in the jail. I don't know what you currently have in your jail, if you're doing MAT, or if you have any licensed treatment providers, or a case manager from the SCA in there to do assessments to speed that up. I mean, that's where I would see the money going. And I guess one other question I wanted to ask was about the scanner and the dog. I guess, will they be used on staff at the jail?
So, okay, so your first question is gonna take me a little bit of time to think about, and I can come and circle back around to that, Shay.
Mm-hmm.
But your second question is a little bit easier for me. Because there's a low dose of radiation through the body scanner, only inmates go through the in-person and on-person body scanner, and pregnant or suspected women. So guests, visitors, folks like me, those complimentary services that come into the jail, they don't go through the body scanner because of that radiation, because of that low dose of radiation. I hope that answered your question.
But that also means it would be the intention of the drug sniffing dog that they would all be, everybody coming in, I think was Shay's question, whether or not it be jail personnel, delivery people, whoever, visitors, whoever it might be, would in fact be subject to this, to the drug sniffing dog. Is that correct?
You are correct. You are correct, Tom. Everybody
That
is gonna
includes
get
staff.
sniffed by the dog.
Including staff, correct?
Including staff, the delivery personnel, the subcontracting providers, the people that provide the food to the jail, everybody's gonna go by the dog.
So is this, the body scanner, would that be similar to like what your courthouse probably has, that everybody has to go through?
No,
No.
yeah, no,
That's okay.
and I didn't mean to be too fast, I'm sorry, Shane. Like, our jail body scanner is magnetic, and it looks for guns. The body scanner that the Clearfield County Jail has looks internally, it's different.
Sorry, I didn't mean to beat you up. Thank you for your answers, I appreciate it.
You're okay, I hope I answered your questions.
Other questions? Okay, I am gonna ask for a sense of the, board, but before I do, I wanted to have this on the agenda today to give you a preview of what we're all gonna be going through in March, April, and May, because, these are going to be the kind of questions that we are going to have. And a lot of them are gonna relate to the jail, because I've talked to enough county commissioners, talked, Aaron to the DA and also the county exec in Allegheny County. Jails are a tremendous problem, and trying to keep the drugs out of the jail, and how to treat people in the jails, and how to treat the people as they come out of the jails and go into recovery programs, I think we are going to find are the real issues that are gonna be confronting us come then. So, I'm happy to be doing it, but I did wanna give you a little bit of a preview for it, so.
I have one comment.
And Kevin has a comment.
One comment. I swear to God, it'll be short.
Tom, I thank you for the opportunity to present.
Oh, thank you for undertaking it.
So first of all, as a county commissioner, this is what keeps us up at night, to make sure that we're legal for less, right? So we ask people to ask these questions to the trust board, and so that's exactly what you're doing, I assume. And so one recommendation that I would have, and the way I would handle this through my prison board, and I don't know if do you have MAT program in your jails?
Yes, we do, Commissioner.
So you could fund your full MAT program through these dollars without question. With the money that you save from that, I'm currently guessing, because our jail does it, use commissary funds to fund the MAT program, because nobody else is funding it for us. So you can convert those dollars, you're still under the condition of providing MAT programming, fund it through these dollars, that frees up other dollars to go do whatever you wanna do through the commissary funds, or whatever other funds they have at the jail. Just a recommendation, I think that what you're really working hard and trying to get this across to us as a treatment, and that's where we go, and I don't think it is, but I'm trying to give you an avenue to go a different direction. So just a thought, take it for what it's worth.
One more question, I'm really sorry.
Thank you.
All forms of MAT?
So Shane, I'm not a human service administrator. That's probably a better question for my single county authority executive director. But I believe that we offer everything in prison and on the exit out of prison, whatever it is. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
I can follow up with the SDA.
That's fair.
Steve, do you want me to get a sense of the board, or have you heard enough to help guide where you're gonna be going?
Well, my sense of the board is no. And so I will notify the Clearfield County Board of Commissioners that the answer is no.
Well, I'm happy to get it, look,
I think it's setting a precedent. So I think it might be worth, after all this discussion, I don't wanna lose that. My thought, Mr. Chair.
which means what?
I think you should ask the question.
Okay, I'd like to get a sense of the board, is this the kind of thing, the drug sniffing dog, is it the kind of thing that you would vote and find to be, when we're making our final decisions on this money, whether or not it is something that would be covered by Exhibit E, and therefore the money can be spent on. All those that believe it is something that complies with Exhibit E, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Tom,
I'm sorry,
Tom, I recuse myself because I work for the county clerk building, or abstain.
Okay,
You see, I think it could be, but I'm not, and I don't wanna tell Clearfield County what to do with the money. I think Kevin makes a good suggestion about money's fungible, so if you use it, in a MAC program or another program, you could fund the dog, or the canine, and the training. But when I go back, I said this comment before, I'm not opposed to law enforcement that's part of a program that leads to counseling and leads to treatment. And with the canine that is sniffing everybody coming in and not, I don't know how you're gonna treat visitors or get the vendor, into counseling if he is caught. And then there is the proportionality question that, Tom, you brought up about a half an hour ago, about how this is going to work. It sniffs everybody and everything. So the way I'm interpreting this, it is too close to law enforcement because I don't see the whole general program.
Okay.
Call the question.
okay, call the question, we have one aye. Anybody other than Senator Tartaglione that votes yes? Opposed?
Aye.
And I only hear two on that. Others?
Sorry.
Three no.
Yeah, I'll say it again, I'm opposed to the way that it is presented.
I understand. Okay, Steve, I hope that gave you, I know it's less than clear, but at the same time, I took a lot from the discussion, and hopefully you will glean as much. I think that the concept that there's a lot of things that can be done with the jail, probably a lot of things that you are doing in the jail that would be covered by Exhibit E that you're currently taking care of out of county funds, and you might be well advised to use Exhibit E, or to use the opioid money for those purposes, and whatever savings there might be, then do the deterrence that you want to obtain. But that's just one thing I'm taking from the discussion.
Tom, I'll be very, very fast. I appreciate the board in this general group's discussion. I now know. Thank you all.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
And appreciate you doing that.
Thank you.
Okay, any new business to come before the board? Hearing none? Have a motion to adjourn?
So.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned, and we have a lot to look forward to in the new year. Thanks. Oh, well,
When I went to settings earlier.
I did know Lisa.
Yes, I did.